Quint's podcast.
Schools teach us about the decimal system, but it is during college admissions that many of us learn about the importance of each decimal place. One decimal point could very well be the difference between securing admission to a college of one's choice and being left out. Cutoff lists in colleges across India illustrate that the gap between a 97% and say a 96.5% is often a chasm too wide to leap across. The CBSE Class 12 board results that were declared on 13 July have witnessed a steep rise in the number of students who have scored above 90%. The first list of cutoffs, however, may soon diminish the jubilation of many of the 157,934 CBSE board students who have secured above 90%, as colleges have indicated that the cutoffs are expected to be even higher than previous years. Today, we explore the most sought-after Delhi University's approach to the upcoming admission season and speak with college principals, administrators and students seeking admission to find out what the cutoffs are going to be like and whether there is a need for a re-evaluation of the whole scoring and admission process. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you, and I'm your host, Sushovan. According to reports, over 2 lakh students had already registered with DU's university application portal even before the CBSE results were declared. This year, DU allowed students to register with the university before the board exams and subsequently enter their marks once the results are out and complete the application process. The number of students scoring above 95% in the Class 12 CBSE exams has more than doubled this year to over 38,000. I spoke with Dr. Bijaylaxmi Nanda, principal of Miranda College, who confirmed that colleges across the university will have to increase the cutoff marginally this year in view of the high scores in board examinations.
Expecting a raise in the earlier cutoffs, so by a certain degree. I mean, this is what all colleges are, sensing, that we may need to raise it by a decimal or a little more than a decimal, because you're looking at, a plus half more. I mean, then you have to also looking at infrastructure and also sanction strength. So we have to look at sanction strength. So keeping that in mind, we have to be very precautious about that. So I think the caution would be to err on the side of caution would be to raise it. So the cutoffs will definitely see an increase this time. Because the idea is not to exclude students. The idea is also to look at the college infrastructure as well as the mandatory requirements of sanction strength as well as teacher-student ratio. So all colleges will have to go with sanction strength, teacher-student ratio and infrastructural support. But infrastructural support comes later. The more important part is teacher-student ratio and sanction strength, because that is the basis on which you get your salaries, you get everything else. So you'll have to work around that. No college can, increase that exponentially. So the increase in the cutoff is a given. You are definitely going to have higher cutoffs.
Delhi University, which offers 70,000 seats in total, receives the highest number of applications each academic year. By law, colleges are required to take in each and every student who meets the cutoff, even if the institution does not have the required number of seats. Professor Shobha Bagai, Dean of Admissions at Delhi University, tells us that the cutoffs are yet to be finalized and reminds us that the CBSE results only marks the initial phase of the application process. The results of other state boards and several other competitive examinations are still awaited, which will see many opting into and out of DU for engineering, medical or law degrees.
It is too early to predict the cutoff. Students in fact come from all over India to take admissions into the University of Delhi. So I think we'll have to wait and watch the results of the state boards also. Moreover, the university would also want to wait for the results of the JEE and the need to come out, as they are going to affect the intake in the science courses of the University of Delhi. Looking at the situations that has arisen due to COVID-19, it's quite probable that the University of Delhi might take a decision to hold online classes or classes in a blended mode for the coming semester. But the students who will be admitted into the University of Delhi through our admission 2020, they will remain with the University of the Delhi for the coming 3 years. And if I talk about the undergraduate classes, so therefore, whatever is the class strength that has been declared by the colleges in the courses, it will be the same, and the colleges will not be admitting more students, even if the classes are being held online.
This year's story, however, is not a new one. Every year, almost like an annual tradition, the media reports about astronomical cutoffs which are higher than the previous year's cutoffs. This begs the larger question about whether the marking process in school examinations, as well as the admissions into colleges, needs a thorough re-evaluation to ensure a truly inclusive method. We go back to Dr. Nanda.
CBSE and others will need to look at it, especially because the idea is of inclusive education. So if it is, then I think there will be needed at some point some discussions around the kind of percentages that are given and how are we going to include them, and whether we can have a more broad-based system where, I think at some point people did talk about, written tests and interviews and the rest of it, but that did not, it's actually even more pressure, something on the lines of the SATs. I mean, that could be something that one should think of. There's no harm in thinking of something like that. And I mean, I think there are about couple of departments like the journalism or the CIE, the Central Institute of Education, music and others, where they do have written tests in order to enter and group discussions. Earlier, I remember about 20 years back in English, the Department of English in most colleges had a written test. So I think a need for some kind of an aptitude testing may be required at some stage.
Over the years, it has emerged as a fact that thousands of students across India with 90% and above marks have no clue where they may end up eventually and have no assurance of a college or department of their choice. The Quint spoke with one such student from New Delhi who recently secured over 90% but remains anxious about her options.
I'm Tanvi Madan, and I just passed my 12th class commerce stream with 90% in best four subjects. I'm thinking of applying in Delhi University this year, but after looking at the number of students who passed with more than 90% is like very shocking. This indicates that cutoff of Delhi University will be very high this year. It doesn't seem possible that I'll get into a good college with these marks. I want to get into BCom program or BCom honors or maybe eco honors, but I think I will have to settle with some with courses like BA program in accounts finance or BA program in accounts plus English or something like that. But I think let's just hope for the best.
Tanvi is not alone, and educators acknowledge that anxiety among students and parents have become the norm, especially regarding admissions into Delhi University. They also told the Quint that DU receives disproportionate coverage from the media and gets more exposure than many other good universities across the country. This has created a perception, especially among parents, that their children should only study in DU. Miranda College principal Dr. Nanda advises students to not be despondent and explains the need to break out of this perception regarding DU and advises students to consider universities across the country which offer excellent subjects and faculty.
My point would be to send out a message that DU is not the only place. Students should explore other universities, other courses, and also regional universities, and try to, especially if they have, I think everyone who is getting above 85 or that, but I mean, every student would require a certain space somewhere. So
Right,
Uh,
right.
Despondence should not set in also.
If you like listening to this podcast, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We are live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out our podcast section. For any feedback, send an email to podcasts@thequint.com.